Alright, so I'm wrapping up the final chapter of Is Something You Should Know About Leroy, the very last chapter, chapter 24. Alright, so I'm just so pleased that you have been joining me all this time for the 24 chapters, 23 so far. Thank you for joining us, and please come again and join me for the videos on some of my other novels that I'll be reading. Alright, so chapter 24. If you're going to be a world-class guitarist, you're going to be needing one of these, said Leroy, and he told her she could open her eyes now. She screamed, "A Tom Anderson guitar, 6 strings, whoa!" She immediately fretted the strings, even before the guitar was fully in her hands. Leroy helped her to get the straps around her neck and back. "Acoustic, nice clear sound, I love it, Lee, thanks." "I've always wanted to get you one, been saving up forever." "A million thanks, Lee, I owe you a million." "Some free concert tickets will do when you start touring after your scholarship." "Imagine that, Lee. They finally came through for me." "I always knew you would get it. You deserve it, Pooh. Just wear some clothes in the snow, right?" She giggled. He pulled her close to him. The hard frame of the guitar pressed against his body. He wanted to make love to her again. Last night had been the very first time he had held Prudence in his arms the way he had always wanted to, not on impulse or on the spur of a jealous rage, not seeking validation in the coincidence of having seen her body time and time again, not because anyone thought they should or everyone suspected they must have. It had happened gently, carefully, because Prudence and Leroy both wanted to consummate the love they had carried for so long, on their own terms. "So, will you stay tonight?" he had asked, stroking her cheeks, ruffling her woolly plaits. "I really want you to stay." "You know I'm a virgin, right?" "I know." He chuckled because he was almost a virgin himself, so inexperienced and unsure of what to do, but letting his body guide him. He had told her of his experience of being molested at 11 years old, why he had been so reluctant to let her or anyone else across that threshold. "I guess you're one of those who don't think a male can be raped or feel violated, Prue?" "Nah, men can definitely be violated." She allowed his arms to wrap themselves around her. For a while, they stood in the center of the room, feeling safe and unrushed, feeling that they had an entire lifetime to get to know each other. He kissed her, covering her lips with his mouth, on instinct, then gently sucking on her lower lip until at last his tongue entered her mouth and devoured it. A kiss that lasted forever and ended too soon, as gentle as it was strong, as slow as it was urgent. His mind was ablaze with colors, her mind infused with sound. The afterglow was a pleasant contortion of arms and legs, each clinging tightly to the other for fear of losing their bearings. The artist and the musician in agreement at last. Miss Busybody quiet and subdued for once. She rested her head on his chest and listened to the muffled pounding, something in their ticking, a clock being reset to a cadence for 2. And he held her head close to him, running his fingers through her nappy plaits, aroused by the texture and the strength. 7 weeks had passed since Cheyenne's incarceration and Benjamin's death, a synchrony of events that had left Maud reeling and left Prudence with a fluster of sorrow that only the constant strumming of her guitar could quiet. She questioned everything and everyone except the 6 strings of her guitar. "I can't even call her shy, not even in my mind." I can't even think of her like that anymore, Prudence whispered into Leroy's chest. I can't believe she had us all fooled from top to bottom. Just think what could have happened. Leroy muttered. He was still asleep. She slowly unhinged herself from him and crept from the bed, glancing back to smile at him. Already the sun had risen and people were up and about on the pathway down below in their houses, kick-starting Saturday into gear. Prudence threw Leroy's coat around her and went out onto the balcony. She could see as far as her own lot. Maud stooped in the garden, urging on her sprouts and saplings, new birth. Stubbs in his wheelchair beside Maud, soaking up some sun while keeping her company, like two turtle doves, him sipping his third cup of coffee for the morning. Freddie and Ferdy fussing over who should push Daphne's baby in the stroller. Prudence didn't realize she was crying until the tears hit the tip of her chin and dripped onto the railing. In 5 short weeks, she would be leaving them. Her family, her love, her Portmore, her Helsha Beach, her mosquitoes, her fish festival and back. She tiptoed back into the bedroom. Leroy was up, sitting at the edge of the bed, naked. She walked over to him, still crying. Where were you? Come here, he whispered. Will you wait for me? Was all she could say. There'll be holidays. We are going to England, not the moon. He pulled her close and giggled. She fixed her stare at him, searching his eyes. Will you wait for me, Lee? I've been waiting for you forever. What's another 3 years? She sighed. Wonder what England would be like. Cold. Prudence giggled. I can take a hint. Hey, Stubb is in the garden with Mom. Wonder what's been going through his mind. It must have been so hard, living down the shame, with everybody whispering and laughing. He's a tough old veteran. He'll live. He really believed she would have married him as soon as she turned 18. Poor lonely old man. Wonder what he would do and say if he saw Cheyenne now. Let's hope he never does. Hey, maybe he and Mom can hook up. You know they already fuss like an old married couple. Just listen to them in the garden. Can hear them from way up here. You never can tell. Just don't go playing matchmaker, Pooh. These things can't be rushed. She looked dreamily up at him. Tell me about it. They spent the entire day together. The evening was descending. The street lights were waking one by one. The mosquitoes were finalizing their plan of action. Hey Lee, I won't have much time after this, what with packing and classes and practice and whatnot. Let's go up to Helsha Beach tonight. Just you and me. One last dip. Just you and me. At 9 o'clock, the beach was just about deserted, save for a handful of fishermen preparing to cast out, and 3 or 4 swimmers who seemed to be getting ready to leave. But the gazebo-style restaurants were still very much open for business, and the proprietors were shuffling about, ready to set the oil a-bubbling at a moment's notice. Leroy held her hand, and they waded several feet out from the shore, 2 bodies almost indiscernible in the darkness. They stood and held each other, oblivious to the boat setting out, the flickering lights of Port Royal across the harbor, the occasional buzz of an airplane taking off or landing at the airport along the Palisadoes. You're all I've ever wanted, someone whispered, and the other agreed. The end. The end. Thank you guys for staying with us. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Is that what you thought you would have found out about Leroy? And what do you think is going through Cheyenne's mind right now? In prison. At 17 years old, 18 years old in prison. Well, it happens. So thank you again. Goodbye from Zande and goodbye from Kim Kim. We'll see you in the next video as we read another